What's up, you guys? It's Jonathan Carter, and today we are going to be doing something a little different on my channel. With January being a pretty infamous month for bad movies, like a dumping ground for just films that didn't get released early in the year, or movies that the studio just doesn't have much faith in. They kind of just dump them out in January. They don't think they're going to make that much money. Plus, with 2024 being a pretty historical year for just bad movies, I decided to take a little bit of a break reviewing new movies just because I'm a little burned on bad movies right now. I kind of just need a quick mental reset. I feel like that's pretty understandable. There is a movie coming out at the end of the month called The Companion, which I might check out because it's from the creators of Barbarian, and I loved that movie. Definitely check that film out if you haven't seen it. So with that being said, I thought this would be a great time to give you all my top 10 movies of all time. Before we jump into this list, I also realized, so I started this YouTube channel about a year and a half ago, and as this channel steadily grows, I thought it'd be nice to give a little backstory on myself and why I love movies and now want to review them. Since I was a kid, I have loved movies. My love for movies started with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. I know the Raimi movies aren't perfect, but there's just, like everybody has with those movies, there's just nostalgia with them, and I was absolutely obsessed with those movies as a kid. Then, as I kind of got to my earlier teenage years, I kind of also started to fall in love with horror, especially like when Insidious came out, and then kind of that first Conjuring movie, and when I went to tell my parents, like, these horror movies are so good, they're so scary, my mom was like, no, you need to watch real horror if you are a fan of horror. So she had me watch The Shining, and that movie just changed my whole perspective and love for movies. That, I feel like, is really where that film, like the love for this whole industry and just the making of movies and movies themselves really just kind of blossomed for me. Also, with that being said, I am, for those of you that don't know, I am a retired professional ballet dancer. Yes, ballet dancer. I started when I was 3 years old, and I went on to dance professionally at the age of 16 and did that all the way until I was 26, a year ago. I literally retired a year ago. And I have a lot of love for ballet. I have a lot of love for fine arts and art in general, and that kind of obviously transfers over to movies. But as I got older and stayed in the professional ballet world, I realized it really just wasn't for me. There was a lot of trauma in it. There was a lot of politics that go into it. It's not all bad, and I'm not gonna like dwell on that in this video, but just giving you guys a little bit of history about it. I was always like, I worked my whole life to do this. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. I've made it professional as a ballet dancer. Who cares if I'm not happy in it mentally? Like, I've worked so hard to do it. This is what I'm gonna do. And a year and a half ago, around the time that I started this channel, I was in a pretty low place mentally of my love for ballet and realizing that maybe it's not what I wanted to do anymore. So this movie channel actually started from a very low place because I just needed a creative outlet and I wasn't sure what to do. And I started this at my home in Florida. So there's very early videos of me a year and a half ago talking like poolside on a chair because that's where I was, and I didn't have a microphone, I didn't have a setup, like all of this stuff to record on. I just wanted to talk about a movie or movies on the internet because I needed an outlet, because I was down and I was in a low place and I wasn't sure how to deal with that. And this reviewing of movies, this thing that I've loved since I was a kid, really helped me. And so even if this channel like never really grows or anything like that, or I just stay here, minimal activity or traffic or whatever, I'm just grateful that I just took that step to do this, to talk about movies on the internet and just review films because I love them. Enough sap there. There's my history about me. I was a professional ballet dancer. I retired last year, jumped into the world of real estate and also teaching ballet and also reviewing movies on the internet. All that being said, let's jump into this list of my top 10 movies of all time. Please be sure to like and subscribe, you guys. That would really help me out a lot. And also, as you can see from this sweatshirt I'm wearing here, this channel is now Jay Carter That Review Guy because I am branching out from things that are just movies, and with that, I have partnered with Spreadshirt, and I have opened my own shop over on spreadshirt.com/jcarterthatreview-guy, and I'll be linking on my profile all the different types of shirts, hoodies, hats, all of that above. You can check it out in my profile. That being said, let's jump into this list. These are all movies that I could fully recommend, perfect for movie night. I love all of these movies, and I know that these movies are not all of them are 10 out of 10s. They're not perfect films. They're just perfect films here to me emotionally, artfully, where it matters. These movies have made a difference to me in my life and made me want to talk about film on the internet, made me want to review film. Right before we jump into this, I know we are going to disagree on this list. It's the whole point of all of this. Be sure to leave your top 10 movies in the comments. So, without further ado, number 10, Whiplash. Talking about the ballet industry, like what I have lived through for 10 years professionally and a lot of my life, this movie sums it all up so incredibly well, except just with music, with jazz music. This is the story of this movie. Is a jazz drummer who he wants to be the best drummer in the world. His coach, his instructor, his professor ends up being pretty abusive. He can't get a read on him. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? He flies off the handle. Is he trying to make me better? Is he trying to kill me? Like, is he trying to make me depressed? And I haven't seen a film before that has put that out in, like, center of the film, of its story, as well as this movie. I mean, there are crazy twists and turns in this film, especially like with all these characters, or with the two characters, Miles Teller and then J.K. Simmons' performance in this movie that he gives, that he turns in, is phenomenal. And there's so much in here that is real in these types of industries, in ballet, in music, in acting, in modeling, whatever, like in that industry that you think of, there are really people like this, and there are people that are out for you, that do not care about you, that don't even want to see you succeed, and I have never seen it put in a story so thematically well, and I love everything about this movie. Number 9, Kick-Ass. So, Kick-Ass, again, is not a perfect movie, but it is just this ultra-violent, irreverent superhero, but not really superhero, just normal people dressing up as superheroes, R-rated action comedy, and you guys, I love it. Side note with this one, Kick-Ass has been like out of print for a 4K release forever, and I have been like frantically searching the internet for it just because I want to own it on physical media in 4K because I'm a movie nerd. I can't help it. I love this industry. But there's something, again, kind of with The Shining. I watched this maybe at too young of an age, but at an age where it just stuck with me because the superhero movies I'd seen before, Spider-Man, The Avengers, Batman, you know, The Dark Knight, which was also like a violent film and a dark film, but like Kick-Ass was, I mean, this film is raw, you guys. Like, it is very, very violent. And this is an early performance of Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, when he was literally just Aaron Johnson. Skinny, scrawny, nerd, that just, like, the world that this movie creates, where there's like gut punches in this film, but there's also something so powerful about somebody that doesn't have superpowers, that sees injustice in the world and wants to take a stand to it, even though he knows it might kill him.
3 assholes laying into one guy while everybody else watches? You wanna know what's wrong with me? Yeah, I'd rather die. So bring it on!
And just what this film explores, the avenues that it creates and opens up to like other superheroes existing in the world. Like this, my PlayStation username is literally Red Mist. Like this film has such an impact on me Nicolas Cage is like my favorite performance of his ever as Big Daddy. And then I can't go on further without mentioning Hit Girl. Chloe Grace Moretz, also my favorite performance of hers. This film is fantastic. Yes, it's violent. Yes, the humor is cheesy. And it's very 2010s, but I love it, you guys. I recommend checking it out if you have not seen it. Number 8, Reservoir Dogs. Quentin Tarantino, love him or hate him, he is a staple in Hollywood. Yes, his movies are very divisive. Yes, he's a very divisive person himself. But people either really love his movies or they just don't like them. And I'm in that camp of I love Tarantino's films. There's only 2 that I don't like, Hateful Eight and Death Proof. They're just not for me. I will do a Quentin Tarantino ranking when his last movie comes out. Reservoir Dogs, again, it's the second Tarantino movie I saw right after Pulp Fiction. The story that is laid out here where you're drip-fed information and you're just in with this crowd of like sleazy criminals, but then you have the cop that infiltrates, played so fantastically by Tim Roth. And just the fact that this movie is set in one location, but it reveals pieces of the puzzle just from this one location, but you feel the whole world expanding out of it. The storytelling, the more of the show don't tell that you should have in movies is played expertly here. And out of all the Tarantino movies, after seeing all of them, this is still my favorite. I think this is a near perfect movie. Number 7, Joker. Okay, hear me out. I know this movie gets a lot of hate, and Joker Folie à Deux is a terrible, terrible, terrible film. I will not argue that. It's not good, okay? I'm not in that camp that's like, Joker Folie à Deux is misunderstood, it's a masterpiece, and we're gonna know that in 5 years, or people are gonna realize, no. That movie is terrible, okay? But the first Joker is a masterpiece. Joaquin Phoenix's performance here, his kind of return to Hollywood, he deserved the Oscar for this movie. This movie should have won over Parasite. I'm sorry, it should have. I don't think Parasite is a good movie. Maybe I need to give it a rewatch. What this movie explores, and I know it gets a lot of hate because it takes the character of the Joker and isn't really a comic book superhero movie, whatever. It's still done so well. Like, the exploration of mental health, what can happen, like, obviously it's a movie so it goes like over the top, but what really can happen to people when they are let down, when they are stepped over, walked over, turned the other cheek to, when people just don't care about you and you don't feel like you have an outlet or an out. Like, some people will go to dark places just to be heard, to be understood, because they are misunderstood or they're not cared about. And that is at the forefront here in this movie. I think this is a misunderstood film. Again, another near masterpiece. Number 6, Spider-Man No Way Home. So, at the top of this video, I talked about falling in love with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, the nostalgia I have for that. I understand No Way Home is just a nostalgia fest with Andrew and Tobey and all the villains coming back, Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx. I don't care. Like, point blank simple, don't care. I think people go a little too harsh on this one, like, oh, why would Doctor Strange make the spell with Peter and the first half of the story doesn't really make any sense? Stop. It's a Spider-Man movie. It's not up for Best Picture. It's not trying to change the world. What they were able to do in this film, not only bringing the 2 other Spider-Man back, because shout out to my boy Tobey, I freaking love you, Tobey, but still making it Tom Holland's movie and making the trilogy his origin story, that has not been done before, and it is done to an expert degree in this film. And the fact that not only you get Tom Holland still front and center with 2 other Spider-Man and he gets his own story, but they close out the story of the other 2 Spider-Man that they didn't get to have in their own universe, in their own movies. Like, how do you do that and make it this good? And the fact that Andrew Garfield came back as Spider-Man, did not miss a beat, and is running circles around people in this movie.
Yeah, I have a mechanism.
Right.
But for you, is it like web, and then it webs?
I love this movie. I don't care. I love it. Bring us into the top 5, The Grey. This is such a powerful performance given by Liam Neeson in this film, and I will say, this is the movie on this list, this is the main movie on this list that is mismarketed. This was marketed as Liam Neeson in the Arctic fighting wolves, like a Liam Neeson being an action star that he was at this time, right? After Taken, all of that. No, that is not what this movie is, and there were people that were like turned off by that, and I completely understand. I hate when movies are not marketed correctly. What I realized that this movie has under it, that it's not this action animal survival movie, it's a powerful story on not giving up. That this character that Liam Neeson plays is at his lowest. He's lost his wife, the only thing he's cared about. He has nothing to live for, and still, through the harshest environment of the Arctic, of a plane crash, of wolves literally hunting you to eat you, he chooses not to give up. And I'm literally getting emotional about it right now. At the end of the movie, the stand that he takes and that score that comes in, I literally will listen to that score on YouTube, just like the score itself. It is so incredibly powerful, and that 1-2 like gut punch when you realize that his wife was sick. She didn't divorce him. She literally died. Like, and he still chooses to fight and live at the end. And the reading of the poem, that movie, every time I watch it, I've seen it so many times, the ending of it never fails to make me cry. It is such a powerful film. If you saw it and didn't like it because it was not an action movie, I urge you, take a step back, reset about the movie, and give it a second chance seeing it for what it is. Number 4, Schindler's List. Another Liam Neeson entry. I don't know what hasn't been said about this movie and its powerful messaging and telling of the Holocaust, and told so emotionally heavy and well by Steven Spielberg, and portrayed by Ben Kingsley, Liam Neeson, and just the horror that has happened in the history of our world. And it is just it's such a heavy movie, it's such an important movie, it's such an important topic. And what I appreciate and still love about this movie, seeing it and all these years later after seeing it for the first time, is not only does it tell such a powerful story of what happened in our world, in history, but it doesn't, I mean, it is very awful to watch, but it doesn't sit in that torture. It doesn't make it more, it doesn't change what the message that the movie is trying to convey of just these horrors that did happen. This was a very terrible time in history, and one that is getting kind of convoluted and a little murky and conflicted right now in our world, which I'm not going to say anything else about that, but it is just such a moving film. And another one, no matter how many times I watch it, at the end I can't help but just cry, because I mean, it's such a terrible thing, that a terrible monstrosity, atrocity that humans are capable of. I bring us into the top 3. Oppenheimer. I think this is the movie on this list that is undoubtedly, unarguably, a perfect 10 out of 10. The performances in this film, no other movie can compete with the performances given in this movie, and just the stacked cast: Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, Rami Malek, Matt Damon, Casey Affleck, and just what this movie does, the way it adapts American Prometheus and makes you feel that this world we are living in is a less of a safe place because of what is created in this movie. And again, just like Schindler's List, the terrible places that humans can go and will go just to assert their dominance or to be the strongest nation or person in the world. And all of those themes explored expertly and adapted expertly by Christopher Nolan. I feel like this is his magnum opus. I mean, everybody turns in a powerful performance. Everything about this movie I love. It is perfect. It is a 3-hour drama that never feels like it's 3 hours. The pacing does not stop. It's phenomenal. Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. deserved their Oscars for this movie. So did Christopher Nolan. So did the score for the film. And the only thing here, Emily Blunt should have won Best Actress for this movie, but I digress. Number 2, 28 Days Later. This is another movie I saw right after The Shining when I was like very young and impressionable with movies. I know that like these top 2 movies can't compete with Oppenheimer on like a perfectly done level. I don't care. It's what these next top 2 movies hold for me emotionally, like in the history of my life, and just what I love about them. I love 28 Days Later. This is through and through the scariest movie I have ever seen. I saw this for the first time when I was 12, literally 15 years ago. Oh gosh. That's insane. 15 years ago. This movie still scares me, you guys. Like, I still can't. I won't watch this movie alone. I won't watch it when it's dark. The fact that it not only like reinvigorated horror, but changed the zombie genre, making them fast, making them mean. And don't give me the argument that they're not zombies. They're zombies. They eat people. They come back from the dead. They're zombies, okay? But what I love about this movie that so many other zombie shows or films haven't done is it's like not only shot in like little towns or backwoods or whatever, but like England. Like they somehow evacuated the city to film that opening with Cillian Murphy and multiple other scenes where you feel so isolated, so alone. Like it just, the dread sinks in and the zombies are so terrifying. But what I also love is in here, there's a theme of like immediately when Cillian Murphy meets the first other people that he's, that are not zombies trying to eat him, they help him. They are good people, and there are still good people in this world. In that sense, it's, again, not all dread. There's an uplifting theme undertone in this movie behind the terror, right? And there is some terror in this film. This is a great early performance from Cillian Murphy. I watch this movie all the time. And with 28 Years Later coming out this summer, I'm also going to do a early review, or a review of 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later leading up to the release of that movie. I'm so excited for that movie. That is my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2025. But bring us into number 1. This is no surprise from the beginning of this video, The Shining. Something about this movie being so impressionable when I watched it at a younger age. This is a perfect movie to me. The performance that Jack Nicholson gives here, I'm not a big fan of Shelley Duvall's performance, but enough has been said about that. I know that Stephen King doesn't really like this movie, and there's a whole Stanley Kubrick drama behind it. I haven't read the book. I have always kind of wanted to. Maybe I should get on that. I love everything about this film. Kind of what I said the same thing about 28 Days Later. That dread, that unease that it gives you just from that opening winding shot of them driving on the mountain, feeling isolated, that score that sets in, that like haunting womp, like, oh my gosh, I'll play a section of it here. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Also, like, the different, like, this really was, like, what set, people will say, like, The Exorcist changed horror, and I do believe that, but I think The Shining not only changed horror, but it also stands the test of time when The Exorcist doesn't really. I mean, it's kind of boring compared to The Shining. I'm sorry. This movie is perfect to me. That like elevator scene of the blood coming out, like, what the heck is that? Like, my parents told me that this movie like was like, it blew people's minds when it came out because they hadn't seen anything like it, and I completely understand and can see that because a lot of movies copy this movie, like the quick notes of the violin and the plucking of the strings. That's in Insidious, that's in a lot of other movies, and that was original for this film. That was created here. There's so much I love about this movie. The atmosphere, the performances, all of it it is perfect to me. So there's my list of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Please be sure to leave your top 10 list in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on my list. I know we are going to disagree. That is fine. Also, I have this list over on Letterboxd, so give me a follow there if you'd like to follow my reviews, typed reviews of that. You can also check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify, where I do shorter versions of these reviews on TikTok and Instagram, and then podcast versions of these on Spotify if you're more of a podcast version person. With that being said, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, for supporting me, all of that. I will see you all on the next one.